guys, welcome back. I'm here again with the DSM, and this time I've actually got another one. This is my 95 Eagle Talon TSi all-wheel drive. Bought it in December of 2018. It was my daily driver for a little while, and I started stripping it out, raced it a couple times. As you can see, it's pretty well torn apart. Interior essentially all stripped. I've got some parts in here. Basically everything from the dash back. The dash is completely stripped. There's no HVAC. ABS and SRS is coming out. So when I first got this thing into the shop, basically I pulled the motor, pulled the transmission, and went through the transmission, all new seals. Nothing was leaking, but it was just kind of preventative maintenance. Cleaned it up, repainted it, cleaned up the block, new oil pan seal, went through the intake manifold, went to a 1G throttle body, which is a 60mm intake, ported out the 2G intake manifold, and then I also have some Evo 560cc injectors. There you go, 560s. Walbro 255 that needs to go in, and basically at this point it just kind of needs to be all reassembled. So I got the passenger side axle in. Gonna need some new control arms. The bushings are kind of shot. I don't know if you can see that, but my goal is to get this thing roadworthy and driving before I start doing any of that, because it really doesn't need a whole lot to be a driver. Also got the driver's side axle, pulled it out, cleaned it all up. It does have a torn CV boot, so I'm gonna have to figure something out for that, probably to replace just the boot if I can on this. But a difficulty I was having, since I did remove the AC from this car, is you actually need a spacer for this bolt to the block, because normally the AC bracket will space it out about that much, which is where this guy comes in. It's a Mitsubishi part number, basically just a really thick washer. This will sit on the back side of the bracket like that to space it out so it sits flush on the engine block. Now you can definitely tell that I've been accumulating some parts for a while. My headlights, radiator, rear tail lights, spare rear subframe, bumper bar, knuckles, control arms, intake, the hood. Also got a spare 7-bolt block and a 2G all-wheel drive transmission that unfortunately is going to need a bell housing. But I'm thinking I can use this for parts if this transmission, or when this transmission goes. I've also got my collection of parts that I brought from California. Big 16G turbo. Got my valve cover with the baffles in here. JMF intake manifold. Some spare sensors and electrical and all kinds of stuff. So really I have everything to get this car back together and running, and that's what my goal is. Here we are underneath. Got the axle in. Gonna have to flip that bracket up, get everything situated into the knuckle over here. All right, we've got the axle in. Lower control arm is bolted up, it's not tightened down, so just got to get the bracket and the spacer in. And then the suspension's all good. Now we can move on to the brakes. And there we go. Axle's in, mounted up, suspension's in. There on the back you can see the axle spacer that I was using. So the next step for this car is going to be getting the transfer case and the driveline all bolted up. I'm going to have to do a custom exhaust. So I got the transfer case loaded up, ready to put some new seals in it. So once I get the new breather and output seal put into the transfer case, I can move on to the brakes. I'm going to get them sandblasted and either powder coat them or paint them. And then of course I get to move on to some of the more tedious things, like routing fuel line, intercooler piping, installing the radiator, the exhaust manifold. I've actually got to figure out how I'm going to get this broken off stud out. I'm probably just going to end up welding a nut onto that, so I'll probably do a video on that as well. But yeah, this is my good old Talon. You can follow me on Instagram. There's some old pictures there. I'm going to try to be posting more updates about this car on there now that I'm actually here with it. But yeah, that's today's video. Just make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe turn those notifications on so you know next time I post a video. Thanks, guys.